My name is Amelia Vance. I'm 32 years old, and I'm an architect. I specialize in restoring historic buildings, finding the hidden strengths in old foundations and bringing them back to life. It's a job that requires an eye for detail, a steady hand, and an unwavering belief that some things are worth saving. But that night, as I stood in the shadowed, hushed lounge of the Grantwood Hotel, watching my fiancé, Mark, hold my maid of honor, Chloe, in a passionate embrace, I knew some things were beyond repair. The air was thick with the scent of stale champagne and hushed secrets. Mark's hand was tangled in Chloe's hair, pulling her head back for another kiss, his lips moving against hers as he whispered, "I love you, Chloe. So much." Chloe, my best friend since college, giggled, her arms tight around his waist. My heart didn't break, it simply froze, a block of ice in my chest, heavy and unyielding. My immediate reaction was a strange, almost clinical assessment, the angle of their bodies, the intensity of their gaze, the way they moved together. It was not a first kiss. Not a mistake. This was practiced, intimate. I backed away, silent as a ghost, my hand already reaching for my phone in my purse, knowing one quiet call would unravel everything they had so carefully constructed, and everything I had believed. To understand how I found myself in that elegant, empty lounge, witnessing the destruction of my future, you need to know about the foundation I thought I was building. I met Mark 2 years ago at a charity gala my firm sponsored. He was a sales executive for a tech company, all charm and dazzling smiles, with a knack for making me feel like the most fascinating woman in the room. He pursued me with an intensity one found thrilling, sending flowers to my office, planning elaborate dates, and always remembering the little details I'd mentioned in passing. He felt solid, dependable, a perfect counterpoint to my own meticulous, often solitary work. When he proposed 6 months later with a custom-designed ring, I said yes without a moment's hesitation. Our wedding, planned for late spring, was to be held at the historic Grantwood Hotel, a building I'd actually consulted on years ago. Chloe, my maid of honor, had been my best friend since our freshman year at university. We'd navigated everything from terrible roommates to first heartbreaks to career pivots. She was a graphic designer, vibrant and effervescent, always pushing me out of my comfort zone. When I asked her to be my maid of honor, she'd shrieked with delight, insisting on helping with every single detail, especially the invitations. We spent weeks poring over paper samples, fonts, and embossing techniques, eventually settling on a classic cream cardstock with deep emerald green script, bordered by a subtle architectural rendering of the Grantwood Hotel itself. Those invitations, sitting in neat stacks in my spare room, were a physical manifestation of the future I envisioned. Initially, I was delighted that Mark and Chloe seemed to hit it off so well. Mark, being the gregarious type, easily charmed her, and Chloe, ever the social butterfly, enjoyed his company. I saw it as a positive sign, a blending of the important people in my life. They'd often joke about me being too focused on work, Mark saying, "Amelia's off designing the next skyscraper, so Chloe and I have to handle the small stuff, like the entire wedding." I'd laugh, a little sheepish, and thank them for their help. Chloe volunteered for every task, from sourcing favors to coordinating with vendors. She'd often meet Mark for appointments I couldn't make, claiming, "Just saving you time, sweetie. You're busy building masterpieces." I accepted this at face value, grateful for her efficiency and Mark's willingness to share the load. But then, subtle shifts began to occur. I started noticing how often Chloe would text Mark directly, even for things that seemed like they should come through me. A quick, "Heard back from the florist, Mark says it's fine," or "Just confirmed with the DJ, Mark approved the playlist." When I mentioned it, Mark would just shrug, "Chloe's just so organized, makes things easier." A prickle of unease would surface, quickly dismissed. It was wedding planning, after all. People got closer. The bachelor and bachelorette parties were planned for the same weekend, though in different cities. Mark's was a golf trip to Arizona, mine a spa weekend upstate. He seemed unusually invested in the details of Chloe's plans, asking me about her itinerary, who was going, and if she was excited. I found it a little odd, but again, brushed it off as him being thoughtful. A few days after the parties, one of Mark's groomsmen, David, a good friend of ours, called me. He mentioned casually, yeah, Chloe was a good sport at the bachelor party, even if she did get a little too competitive on the putting green. My blood ran cold. Chloe? I asked, my voice thin. David hesitated. Oh, yeah. She just stopped by for a bit, to say hi to Mark. It was nothing. Mark later explained it away as Chloe, just dropping off some last-minute paperwork for the wedding, and then, staying for a quick drink with the guys. The story felt flimsy, but I pushed it down, convincing myself I was being paranoid. The final, undeniable piece of the puzzle came a week before the wedding. Chloe had been over at our apartment, supposedly helping me finalize the seating chart. After she left, I noticed one of my antique pearl earrings was missing. It was a gift from my grandmother, a delicate piece I rarely wore. I distinctly remembered wearing it to a formal dinner a month prior, but hadn't seen it since. I asked Mark if he'd seen it. He looked flustered, searching briefly through his car keys. No, honey, haven't seen it. The next day, Chloe called me, sounding breathless. Amelia, you won't believe what I found. Your earring. It was in Mark's car, tucked under the passenger seat. I must have dropped it when I was helping carry those heavy boxes of favors. The explanation was too quick, too convenient. I hadn't worn those earrings to any event where I would have been carrying boxes of favors. The pearl earring, a symbol of family and tradition, now felt like a shard of ice in my palm. The knot in my stomach tightened. That night, Mark told me he had a late client dinner. I had been planning to finish some work at my office, but a nagging thought about the final payment for the hotel bar service, due that day, kept bothering me. The coordinator, Sarah, had mentioned she'd be working late. I decided to swing by the Grantwood myself, drop off the check, and avoid an early morning scramble. I parked, walked through the elegant lobby, and took a shortcut through a less-used lounge area, a place I knew well from my consulting days. That's when I saw them. The whispered words, the intimate embrace, the undeniable truth. The carefully constructed facade of my relationship, and my friendship, crumbled in an instant. It wasn't just a fling, it was an affair, deep and insidious, carried out under the guise of wedding preparations. I stood there for a long moment, hidden by a potted palm, watching them. My breath hitched, but no sound escaped. There were no tears, no dramatic gasp. Just a profound, chilling clarity. Every convenient meeting, every shared laugh, every hushed text, every flimsy excuse, the lost earring, Chloe's presence at the bachelor party, it all coalesced into a hideous, undeniable pattern. My fiancé and my maid of honor. My architect's mind, trained to see structural flaws, now saw the rotten timbers beneath my entire life. I knew, with absolute certainty, that I couldn't go through with the wedding. I couldn't even speak to them right then. The betrayal was too raw, too complete. I turned, walked silently back through the hotel, out into the cool night air, and got into my car. My hands were steady as I pulled out my phone. I knew exactly what I had to do. I drove a few blocks, found a quiet, dimly lit street, and pulled over. My heart was still a block of ice, but my mind was sharp, focused. There was no room for hysterics. I scrolled through my contacts and found Sarah's number, the wedding coordinator. She had given me her direct line for any wedding emergencies. This certainly qualified. It was nearly 11 p.m., but I knew she was a workaholic. The phone rang twice before she answered, her voice a little sleepy but professional. Sarah, it's Amelia Vance, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, devoid of any tremor. I need to cancel the wedding. Effective immediately. There was a beat of stunned silence on the other end. Amelia? Is everything all right? Cancel? Are you sure? Yes, Sarah. I'm absolutely sure, I stated, the words firm, resolute. I understand about the deposits. Please process whatever needs to be processed. I'll follow up with a formal email tomorrow morning, but consider everything off. The venue, the catering, the bar service, all of it. Sarah stammered, But, the flowers, the cake, the musicians? We have contracts. I understand the implications, Sarah, I interrupted, my voice still calm, though I felt a cold knot tightening in my stomach. Just do what you can. I'll take responsibility for the costs. The wedding is cancelled. After I hung up with Sarah, I took a deep breath. That was the first step. The decisive one. Then, I called my parents. My mother answered, concerned by the late hour. Mom, it's me. I'm okay, but the wedding is off. Mark was cheating on me with Chloe. I caught them tonight. My mother's gasp was audible. My father took the phone, his voice grim. I repeated the facts, keeping my emotions locked down. They offered to come over, but I gently declined, saying I needed to process things alone for a little while. The fallout began almost immediately. Within minutes of my call to Sarah, Mark's phone started ringing. He called me. Then texted, then called again. His messages were a frantic mix of denial, begging, and then, as the reality of the cancellation sank in, rage. What have you done, Amelia? You can't just cancel everything. This is insane. Talk to me. Chloe's messages followed, tearful and manipulative. Amelia, please, it's not what you think. He manipulated me. You're my best friend, don't do this. I ignored every single one. The next morning, I sent a concise email to Mark, Chloe, and both our immediate families. It was short, to the point. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding between Mark Vance and Amelia Vance is cancelled. Mark and I are no longer together. Chloe Miller is no longer my friend. Further details are private. Please respect our privacy during this time. I copied Sarah on the email, knowing she would appreciate the official confirmation. The financial hit was substantial. We lost a significant portion of the deposits for the venue, catering, and several vendors. It hurt, but the relief I felt at not having to stand at an altar next to a man who had betrayed me, with my best friend standing beside me, was immeasurable. The social fallout was inevitable. Gossip spread like wildfire. Friends and relatives called, confused, concerned, or simply curious. I answered each inquiry with the same calm, firm statement: the relationship ended due to infidelity. It was not a mutual decision, and I decided to cancel the wedding. There was no room for speculation, no dramatic details. Just the truth. My parents were incredibly supportive, flying out to be with me for a few days. My other friends, the ones who truly cared, rallied around me, offering comfort and practical help. Chloe tried repeatedly to contact me, sending long, tearful emails and even showing up at my apartment building. I never responded, never opened the door. Mark also made several attempts to explain or apologize, even suggesting we could work through this. I blocked his number and email. In the months that followed, I returned to my work with a renewed focus. I found solace in the precise lines of blueprints, the structural integrity of old buildings. I learned that some foundations, no matter how grand, could be built on shifting sand. One afternoon, while cleaning out my spare room, I found the box of custom-designed wedding invitations. The elegant script, the delicate paper, the subtle architectural rendering of the Grantwood Hotel, they had once symbolized a future I eagerly anticipated. Now, they were just a reminder of a carefully constructed lie. I didn't throw them away immediately. Instead, I carefully peeled off my name from the top one, keeping it as a strange, poignant memento. I realized I wasn't mourning the wedding, or even the loss of a fiancé. I was mourning the illusion of a future I'd built on a shaky foundation, a future that was never truly mine. The only thing I built with Mark and Chloe was a house of cards, and one phone call was all it took for me to watch it fall.